Hey, I'm Maria Hedian, a former corporate professional turned CEO and fashion career educator. At 15, I decided I was going to be in the fashion industry and set out to find my path, no matter what that took. With zero industry context, I worked job after job, some of them completely unpaid, in order to find my way into this exclusive industry. Knowing the hardships of getting into the fashion industry firsthand, I took 20 plus years of personal experiences and turned them into tools to help you turn your passion into confidence and your dreams into reality. Join me each week as we discuss all of your career questions and identify behind-the-scenes industry strategies and techniques. Every episode is designed to help you take immediate action that will take your fashion career to the next level. Together, we will make your fashion career dreams a reality. This is Into the Fashion Industry. Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Into the Fashion Industry Career Podcast, the podcast for serious fashion professionals who want to start or advance their careers in the industry. As the world opens up more and more and allows for more in-person events, I wanted to start talking to you all about Fashion Week because we are approaching the time that production teams start breaking down details, like the additional help they're going to be needing as it gets closer to the day of the show. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, if Fashion Week isn't until September, why is she talking to me about this now? Well, if you're serious about advancing your career, being a Fashion Week volunteer is the best way to start. It's important for you to begin familiarizing yourself with key terms, roles, and all of the details that go into this incredible week-long event within the fashion industry. Plus, you need to start doing some research if you want to be among the first to reach out to companies and professionals about potential opportunities. Over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to be breaking down all of the information that you'll need about working for Fashion Week, from what it entails to where to look for opportunities and who to reach out to. Every new season, editors, stylists, influencers, publicists, producers, and designers look for temporary help with Fashion Week shows. Knowing the key facts and information will help you get ahead of everyone else who's trying to secure a backstage spot. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down how being a Fashion Week volunteer can affect your career and the benefits that it can bring to you as a fashion professional. Now, some of these you may know, while others I have a feeling will be a surprise. The very first time I set foot backstage at a Fashion Week show in 2006, yes, it was a very long time ago, I probably looked like that emoji with the stars for eyes. I'm not even kidding. At the time, I was in college while also working as a visual manager at a retail store. I remember always being interested in Fashion Week and getting any little bit of information that I could. In those days, the shows weren't really accessible to the public the way they are now. In order to score a seat or even watch a show, you had to be press or an industry professional such as a buyer, an editor, or a stylist. That was it. Even though I knew I wanted to be a part of Fashion Week even then, I never really understood the benefits of volunteering and how it would all end up impacting my career. Now, if we're new friends and this is your first episode with me, hi, welcome. Love that you're here. But I bet you're wondering how I got started backstage as a Fashion Week volunteer in the first place. Well, let me tell you. While sitting in class one day at FIT, I overheard two girls talking about volunteering backstage at Fashion Week and how their teacher had a group of volunteers that would get into all of these shows. Apparently, this teacher would only give students from her class a spot. Now, I wasn't in her class, but I saw my opportunity and I ran with it. I turned to the girls and told them very confidently that I was in this teacher's class, but I'd lost her contact information and could they please share her email address with me. Keep in mind, this totally could have backfired. These girls could have seen right through me and realized that I really just wanted a spot backstage at Fashion Week. Thankfully, they didn't, and I was able to get the teacher's contact information. I remember running out of the class that day straight to a computer to send out the most professional email I could write. I didn't know what this teacher's criteria was to join her team other than being in her class. So I basically just sent her a cover letter saying, I'm not in your class, but I've had full-time jobs for years and I'm extremely responsible. Please consider me for a volunteer spot. I still remember getting a response from her that night. I was home, and when I read her email welcoming me to her volunteer team, I ran screaming into my living room, scaring the crap out of my parents, jumping up and down, telling them that I would be working backstage at Fashion Week that very weekend. Once they realized that I was screaming with good news, they joined me, jumping up and down with excitement, probably because of the starry-eyed emoji look on my face again, since at that point, they didn't even know what Fashion Week was. A few days later, I remember walking up to the tents at Bryant Park and pinching myself various times. I could not believe I was really there. It's safe to say that this is where my love story with Fashion Week and with fashion events in general officially began. Now, some of you may be looking to start or further a career that has nothing to do with event planning or any other roles involved in fashion show production. Some of you may not even realize just how many roles are involved in making these events come together. And some of you have absolutely no desire to work backstage as a volunteer. Just hear me out on this. Volunteering during the most important dates within the fashion calendar year has so many benefits far beyond what you can imagine. I speak 100% from experience and wholeheartedly recommend every single fashion enthusiast, student, or future professional do it at least once in their career, especially at the start, no matter what part of the industry you're looking to work in. The first and most obvious benefit of being a Fashion Week volunteer is that it allows aspiring professionals to get hands-on experience and a piece of the fantasy. As a fashion lover, I would be a hypocrite if I said you shouldn't volunteer if you want to be part of the magic that goes on behind the scenes at Fashion Week. I completely understand this mentality, and I did the same thing. But what I do want to stress is that it shouldn't be the only reason that you sign up for this experience. If your only reason to become a Fashion Week volunteer is just to be backstage or get a chance to see designs and meet designers or models, every single company you work with will see right through you, and you won't be asked to come back. I've said this before, and I will always stress it. Working in fashion is not glamorous, and it's not for the faint of heart. The results that are created, the beauty that the world sees in campaigns, events, magazines, or shows is the result of lots and lots of grueling hard work from many people. It's not glamorous by any means or a direct reflection of what you see on social media. So, now that I've given you my PSA, let me jump off my soapbox and get on to the good stuff. Being a Fashion Week volunteer is an experience like none other. Whether you're working backstage or front of house, the excitement and the sense of urgency is everywhere, and it's totally and completely palpable. Some of the tasks that you'll be assigned can seem menial, but always be sure to do them exactly as you've been instructed to. In this setting, it's not so much that people are watching you to make sure that you actually are working or completing your tasks. It's more that people are depending on you to get whatever task you were assigned done in order to ensure all components of the show run smoothly. If you don't do your part, it could mean issues, such as the next task that needs to happen after yours can't, and most likely someone else will have to rush to do it. This may set back other tasks, and if that's the case, the production team will ask who was assigned to do it in the first place. While working backstage, it's important to understand that not many people get an opportunity to do this, to see what you're seeing and to be part of the behind-the-scenes action. As such, give yourself a moment to take it all in and then get to work. Once you've completed your task, learn as much as you can from everyone around you. Understand why things are done a certain way, when they are done, and soak in every single job that you can. The backstage area is often crowded and busy, which means two things. First, stay out of the way. I remember one of the things that stood out to me the most my very first time backstage was watching people run around and run past me every few minutes. The second is it means every single person has a purpose. As someone who has spent hours working with PR teams on backstage lists to determine exactly who needs to be backstage and who we can remove for the sake of space, I can definitely tell you that you, as well as everyone else you see, are there for a specific reason. I say this to mean two things. The first is to make you understand that your role, no matter how small you may think it is essential to the show. People have worked on lists with the sole purpose being to remove anyone non-essential, and you made the cut. So don't let them down. Work on your task, be available to lend a hand whenever needed, be flexible and support anyone who needs your help. Listen to instructions carefully, as they are there for a reason, and most importantly, don't take it upon yourself to do things. Every single person involved in the production of the show has been working on it for months, so there's a reason why they're asking you to do things a specific way. Soak in every single moment of the experience to truly understand what it takes and if this is something you'd be interested in doing in the future. Don't just limit your experience to one show or one designer. Volunteer for a few if you can, so that you can see the variety of leadership styles, the different types of shows, and the different vibes that are ever changing in the world of fashion events, especially shows. After doing this a few times, then start to ask the deeper questions, like, how did I feel about this experience? Is this something I could see myself working on in the future? What role did I enjoy learning about, watching, or shadowing the most? No amount of reading or learning about Fashion Week can replace actually being there in person and going through all of the emotions and the lessons that it can bring with it. The more time you spend volunteering, the more you'll be able to learn through practical experience, and the more confident you'll feel about it going forward. A key takeaway from this is, when volunteering, make sure to be flexible and available to help whenever needed throughout the day. This will provide more opportunities for you to learn about something new and uncover a new layer of tasks that need to be completed in order for a smooth, seamless show to be possible. Along with this hands-on experience comes benefit number 2. Build your resume. Being a Fashion Week volunteer is a solid first step to help you get involved in the industry, especially if you have little to no experience or you don't have a strong network to rely on yet. The beauty of starting here is that you'll have tasks on your resume that you wouldn't be able to have by doing anything else. Plus, it puts you ahead of others looking to start in the industry, as most people won't have backstage Fashion Week experience listed on their resumes. Building a resume with Fashion Week work, regardless of what it is, will show companies that you're invested in the industry and in growing your career within it. Many times, work that's done during Fashion Week is on an intern or volunteer basis, which means you're more than likely getting very little to no compensation, at least at the start. Companies and brands know that this is an industry standard, even though it shouldn't be, and take this into consideration when reading your resume. Personally, anytime I've hired freelancers or interns, I always look to see if any Fashion Week work is listed. If it is, I know that this person most likely volunteered their time to learn about the logistics of a show, to try to network and make connections, and to be part of the industry in a purposeful and a very deliberate way to grow their career. Being a Fashion Week volunteer lets brands know that you can work in a very fast-paced environment and multitask diligently, and that you can follow instructions while working under high-pressure situations. By adding this to your resume, it'll also give you a leg up to your competition when applying to other jobs or even other Fashion Week opportunities in the future. Brands always prefer someone who has done it already, has the experience, and has done a good job, especially if they've been on their team. Trust me, they will remember you if your work stood out in some way, whether this was positive or negative. This leads me to my next benefit. Being a Fashion Week volunteer gives you the opportunity to get your foot in the door of this highly exclusive industry. When it comes to getting any jobs or internships, your network matters. This is particularly true in fashion, where word of mouth is a primary method of finding new talent or getting hired. What many people don't realize is that the industry is very small. People always say this, and it's one of those things that is a cliche for a reason. It's not so much that everybody knows everyone else, but rather, if you do something that grabs the attention of the people at the top, whether this is something good or something not so good, it has a way of finding its way back to you when you least expect it. Fashion Week can be one of the best places for people to see your work ethic and have it speak volumes all on its own, without having to do anything above and beyond just doing a really good job. The problem with opportunities that are unpaid or volunteer-based is that not everyone takes it seriously or is there to work. Some people are only there to be backstage, to get an insider look at designer shows and to take advantage of what people they can talk to or meet. But their intention isn't to actually work. While this is terrible for the production company of the show, it can work for you in your favor. It gives the people that are serious about their careers a chance to stand out, especially in comparison to the people that are purely taking advantage of the situation. Trust me, the team will notice both. The trick here is to give brands something to talk about in the best way. You can achieve this by going above and beyond what is expected of you, especially at the beginning. Now, this is not to say that you should take on more and more work while doing it for free. There will come a point where you've gotten enough experience to be able to charge for your services, And we will get into this in future episodes. But at the start, taking on as much as you can benefits you. It helps you learn things that can only be taught with hands-on experience. Take in as much as possible so that over time, you are indispensable to any company that you work for, especially as you're making your way to the top. Use Fashion Week to get your foot in the door in the smartest way possible. Now, for those of you who at the start of this episode identified with the group of people I mentioned who have zero interest in working backstage at any shows, this next benefit is for you. By being a Fashion Week volunteer, you will be able to determine whether this area of the industry is for you. Believe it or not, volunteering at New York Fashion Week or at any career-related event gives you the opportunity to learn about yourself. Perhaps you think you don't want anything to do with events, but what if you do it once and end up falling in love with it? Something I have heard a lot is that students never realize how many different teams are involved with the production of a fashion show. Volunteering can introduce you to an entirely new and exciting world of production and every other thing that goes into it. I've had students tell me that they never even thought or considered a career in public relations or styling until they worked backstage at a Fashion Week show and saw it all up close. By getting hands-on insight and experience on the behind-the-scenes production of a fashion show, you will be able to better understand all of the different factors that go into it. Additionally, for a student, there is no better time than Fashion Week to assist if you're curious or if you want to see if this is something that you could work in, as the short-term nature of the commitment really allows the students to participate without giving up too much of their time and while having immediate work experience during the busiest time of the year. Trust me, this will definitely provide insight into the realities of being part of the fashion industry in a way that very few things will. One thing that I do want to say and stress here is that you have to make sure that anything you do in fashion or anywhere else in your life is because you enjoy it. Many people will often say that participating in Fashion Week is what so many others dream of, and so many people are waiting in line for an opportunity like this. But none of that matters if you don't like it. Follow your heart. And if it leads you to event production, then great. If it doesn't, don't try to force it. It's definitely one of those areas of the industry where you absolutely have to love it in order to do it. I can tell you from experience that after a grueling 17-hour day in production, every single season I swear that I'm never going to do it again. But here I am, season after season, doing it again. While some people may call me a masochist, the truth is, I can't stay away because I just love every single part of it so much, no matter how much work it often is. Okay, I've saved the best benefit for last. Being a Fashion Week volunteer can open doors to new and exciting career opportunities. Your work ethic can make you stand out and can get agencies or brands to call you back to work with them on other projects. Think about it. You're working with the top members of a brand on a massive event for their company. It's up to you to make it a point to differentiate yourself from the rest. Put yourself in a position where if there is downtime, you can take the time to chat with some team members. It can be about the show, about the industry, or something completely unrelated. But strike up an interesting conversation and most importantly, introduce yourself. A conversation, an anecdote, or an introduction paired with a memorable work ethic will ensure that the team knows exactly who you are even after the show has ended. Just be sure that when you do decide to strike up this conversation, it's in a moment where things have slowed down and not while people are running around trying to get things done. You don't ever want to be in the way, especially by trying to initiate conversation while everyone else is busy working. Feel it out and see if this opportunity arises. It could be after the show when everything is being packed up or during a meal break. You have to be the best judge of this. Depending on who you work with, you may get called back to work on projects such as assisting with photo shoots, PR work, styling, or even editorial work. Opportunities like these allow you to create new relationships with people in the industry, which in turn will allow you to build the start of a solid professional network. At the end of the day, it's what you put into every single experience that determines what you get out of it. In the end, there are so many benefits to volunteering backstage at events, and Fashion Week is truly as big as they get. As someone who's starting out, especially if you're a student, get involved with Fashion Week. Attend shows if you can, help out behind the scenes, and most importantly, take every single opportunity to learn about the industry that you can. This industry is notorious for being exclusive and closed off. But you'll find that the more you work with different teams, brands, and companies, the more doors start opening for you. You'll quickly find that where you went to school, your resume, or even the companies that you've worked with won't matter as much as your professional work ethic and your reputation do. It's up to you to make sure that no matter where you are in your career, but especially if it's early on, that you give every single project you're a part of your all. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The important thing is that you put yourself out there. And honestly, you'll be so stressed out about the mistake that you made, you'll never forget it and you'll probably never make it again. Now, our Fashion Week series has officially begun, all with the intention of making sure that you are well prepared by the time you have to start applying for those coveted opportunities. On the next episode of Into the Fashion Industry Career Podcast, we're going to break down exactly how and where to find these Fashion Week roles. All right, my friend, if you found this episode helpful, or if you know someone who wants to learn everything about Fashion Week and you know this series will help, please share this episode with them. Grab the link, text it to a friend, or better yet, I'd love for you to share it on social. I can't wait to be back here next week with more Fashion Week content to help you land that backstage role at one of the incredible shows in September. Bye for now.